Hi, I like Lord of the Rings, which I guess is a controversial opinion these days. I guess in 2022 you can't like things anymore. Don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of shitting on things and just being a hater in general. I think the let people enjoy things mentality is really fucking obnoxious, but there's definitely a line where if you don't like something because you're, I don't know, racist. I don't know if that's a legitimate thing. So today I want to talk about how a bunch of fucking racist morons are responding to the new Lord of the Rings series that Amazon Prime is putting out. And you might think, oh, people are upset about the new Lord of the Rings series. Man, I wonder if it's because it's, produced by Amazon and they obviously don't have a lot of good practices when it comes to, anything. And the idea that only like 4 companies are going to control all media that we consume is getting more and more realistic, or, Jeff Bezos has a fucking ugly egghead. But actually, it's because the Lord of the Rings series has a black person in it. That's what's wrong with it. And these same people were mad even before they knew that was the case. They just assumed it would be woke. They're putting CRT in Lord of the Rings. Frodo is becoming a fucking gender studies professor. What the fuck, dude? This is fucked up. My good friend Nick actually tipped me off to the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power official Twitter account when they just posted a screenshot all the way back in August of 2021 announcing that a new show is happening. And you might scroll down and notice like a pretty positive reception overall. But there's a little thing there where the hidden replies are that I would like to look at. Not when you're trying to turn Bilbo into a non-binary BIPOC trans lesbian with a limp and selective autism because OMG, so diverse. It's a world with its own lore and its own reality. Feel free to create a new one. That's like from that. What? Why did you say that? What could possibly prompt someone to say something like this? Meh, hope Gandalf doesn't fuck Sam or is pocket trans. Does this person know that Ian McKellen is gay? Is that what they're saying? So you think Tolkien wanted most people to be gender fluid? Seriously? It's just a screenshot! But also, okay, if we're talking about gender fluidity, like, elves are kind of, like, androgynous. Legolas could easily be, like, a gender fluid character if you just called him that. You know what I mean? Why does it matter? What does it change? As long as there are no black elves, Asian Numenorians, or whitewashed Haradrim? Oh. I've only read The Fellowship of the Ring, alright? And that book spends way more time talking about the family lineage of each individual Hobbit family than it does the skin color of almost any character. J.R.R. Tolkien was born at the end of the 19th century, served in World War I, and published his books throughout the fucking early 20th century. These books are old and extremely homoerotic, but that's aside the fact. It's not an excuse for someone being racist, but it's to be expected that books this old would have racial overtones. And they do. The roots of fantasy are built on Western-centric, Eurocentric, whitewashed history, where knights are these, Anglo-Saxon, long flowing lock characters, and everyone speaks with a British accent. Like, it doesn't take a lot to understand that, like, that's a little, little white supremacist-y. Just a little. But that doesn't mean it's inherently wrong to engage with that media, but I would say it's inherently wrong to engage with that media acting as if it's not rooted in at least the most mild white supremacy. I know it's kind of like a hot button issue, especially with fucking gamers, but like, I don't know what to tell you. You can only consume so much fantasy media where everyone is white and talking with a British accent, and the villains of the story are like the only characters that aren't perfectly porcelain skinned, before you kind of start to realize a pattern. Please, no LGBTIHJQ or feminazism agenda. Thanks. Fuck, dude. Like, how are you so delusional? Like, what do you expect? Do you think that there's gonna be feminism in this? Like, okay, then you probably didn't like the fucking change that they made in Fellowship of the Ring, where Arwen is the one that saves fucking Frodo when he's stabbed by the fucking Nazgul. That's not in the books. It was a male character instead, but they changed it to Arwen to give her more of an active role in the movie. Feminazism, am I right, guys? Ready for BIPOC inclusion in the Lord of the Rings universe. Also LGBTQI+. This will be an improvement on Tolkien's vision. Like, why? What is telling you that they're going to do this? What information do you have? Well, only 4% of the population, but getting represented in 100% of entertainment. The homo quota is real, yo. What are you watching? I'm literally trying to think of like more than one show that has a trans person in it. I don't even know if I can think of one. Middle-earth is clearly based on Eastern European mythology, which means an all-white cast, meaning Black, Asian, Indian, and Arab people don't belong in this show, the same way white people don't belong in a show set in feudal Japan. Okay, the difference is feudal Japan was real and also was extremely isolated because it's an island. Eastern Europe, a hub that would have connected fucking Asia with Europe, probably had more than just white people in it. Racially diverse Middle-earth makes as much sense as diverse Wakanda by their flawed logic. Middle-earth is not real! Like, Wakanda still takes place in a real setting, with a real context. Middle-earth is not real, and even if it is, the loose fucking historical basis is not a fucking ethno-state. Also, the idea that every fucking character of every race, like elves, men of Dale, the fucking Bree men, fucking hobbits, they should all be white, because all of these different races, the dwarves, they should all be fucking white. Like, what does that give you? What does it do for you? Even if it was Tolkien's vision, it's a flawed vision that is not historically accurate to the historical illusion it makes. It's like, yes, dude, every single person who lived in Eastern Europe in medieval times was 100% white. People didn't move from one place to another. There was no fucking thing as someone who was biracial at the time. Not only do you not understand Middle-earth, you don't even understand regular Earth. I hope there won't be many black actors in the series. Why? What is wrong with you? I bet there will be a black elf and a homosexual dwarf. Okay, I haven't read all of Tolkien's work and all of his fucking notes like apparently these people have, but regardless of what he said about the skin color of elves, I highly doubt he hyper-focused on their sexuality because, again, Sam and Frodo are literally fucking like a homoerotic metaphor. I don't know what to tell you. There are massive homoerotic overtones throughout the entire Lord of the Rings series, so I don't understand, like, why would having one gay character fucking ruin the entire show for you? What is wrong with you? I tried doing research on how Tolkien felt about adaptations of his work, because clearly while he was alive, he didn't have the chance to vocalize whether or not he wanted black people to play a dwarf, I guess. And the most I could find is that Tolkien was very critical of proposed scripts for Lord of the Rings adaptations that were going to come out while he was alive. But he cared so much more about the structure of his narrative and about what the environment was like than he did the characters. There's an entire excerpt of him writing about the style of sandwiches the hobbits were eating. The hobbits were specifically not eating very large sandwiches. That is ridiculous. Like, I don't think he would care because his vision was not the characters, it was the narrative and their place in the story. And while obviously he had no overtly queer characters in his books, that doesn't mean it's not possible. The idea that just because there haven't been any before, that means there never can going forward is extremely strange, and I don't know why you would think that. About a week ago, Vanity Fair revealed some images of characters that are going to be in the Rings of Power series, one of which was a dwarven princess played by a black actress. Sure, the reaction is very normal. The dwarves live underground, so wouldn't all of their skin be pale? Via source material, Gimli stated that dwarven women had beards and were often mistaken for men. What's this? If they had a bearded woman character, can you imagine the absolute batshit response that people would give? They would never stop shitting themselves about how it's trans enforcement. They're forcing their agenda into our Lord of the Rings. Gimli is not pale-skinned. Legolas has lighter skin than he does. And also Gimli does not live exclusively underground. Most of the dwarves we see in the Peter Jackson series are above ground. The arrogance to think, hey, we're actually better than Tolkien, the father of the fantasy genre, and will unnecessarily write in new characters and put everything into a blender. What? I think it's insane for someone to try to adapt someone's work exactly how it was and never change it, even though the work is nearly 100 years old. That's ridiculous. Like, I know for a fact these motherfuckers who are so obsessed with Lord of the Rings probably also watched the movies and clearly aren't as annoying about that when Peter Jackson made tons of changes. Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son, did not like Peter Jackson's movies, thought they were not accurate to the vision of his father, and it's not because Gimli isn't fucking pale-skinned. The superficial, surface-level analysis of these characters is probably something that Tolkien would despise. Just this morning on Twitter, someone posted a bunch of forum posts from 2001 when Fellowship of the Ring came out, of a bunch of fucking dweebs complaining about how the series isn't accurate to the source material. And I'd like to take a look and see exactly how much this rhetoric has evolved from then to now. A lot of what I'm talking about comes from the trailer, the myriad of photos posted about, and the lists of rumored changes on the OneRing.net. There are enough stills about the wizard duel between Sauron and Gandalf, the Uruk-hai hatching from pods, and the sword-wielding Arwen on horseback to make one worried about how this thing got hijacked by Peter Jackson in the first place. As for the PC female versus male roles, shudders, I don't think that women could have handled the trek from the Shire to the Crack of Doom. I'm not saying that a woman couldn't have handled it, but it would have been more difficult for a woman than for a man. I do not find Tolkien to be sexist at all. I don't know if this guy has a great litmus test for telling if someone is sexist. His story was much more believable than having Arwen, aka Xena, rescuing Frodo from the ring wraiths at the ford. Okay. I have absolutely no problem with people going to see this movie and enjoying it. Go to the movie. Enjoy it. Be entertained. I will think no less of you for doing so. Myself, I am no unwilling to give the bastard Peter Jackson any of my coin. My unwillingness is not because he has changed the novel to make it more film compatible, but because he has both changed the characters Arwen and created characters Lurtz. Tolkien created extremely detailed and consistent universe. For the bastard Peter Jackson to disrespect it is unconscionable, and as much as I need to see this film on the big screen, I am willing to pay the price and watch it on a bootleg download as my personal protest against the bastard Peter Jackson. So people complaining about women being forced diversity in their movie, I wonder if that sounds a little familiar right now. I believe Peter Jackson may also give some of the roles of dwarves to women in some sort of attempt to be non-discriminatory and add an equal opportunity employer. I am not against women, but I dislike when male roles in the original story are given to females in the movie. It just seems unlike the original story that you so loved. Picture Gandalf as an old witch. You get what I'm trying to say. Man, what a blast from the past. It's a good thing we've come so far in our film discussions on the internet. Honestly, seeing those posts kind of changed my whole perspective on shit like this, because there's something really satisfying knowing that while I'm going to be watching this series and enjoying it, morons on the internet are going to be repeating the same exact talking points that different morons that are older said on the internet in 2001 about movies that are almost universally loved today. Whether this series is good or bad, it won't be because they included a gay character, which it's Amazon, so it probably won't have one. It's totally valid not to like things. It's totally valid not to like things that other people really like. It's not valid to dislike things before you see them because you think there might be black people in it. That's racist and really fucked up. If you or someone you know thinks like this, I highly encourage you to actually watch more media, especially media made by queer people, because hey, you might like it. And I also suggest getting help, because being this aggressive towards something that A, you haven't even seen, and B, you are genuinely like afraid that there might be people of color in, it's not good and it's wrong and it's fucked up and you need help in one way or another. The first step to getting help is to press subscribe on this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please click like if you had a good time, or subscribe for more videos like this every week. Give Lord of the Rings a rewatch for me. Okay, that's it. Bye. Thank you so much to my incredible supporters over on Patreon. Consider checking out the Patreon if you want to see video thumbnails early and little sneak peeks as to what I'm making throughout the week. It's $5 a month and you get your name at the end of videos just like this. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.